Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Until It Ran Into Me. I want to go ahead and insert a trigger warning for mentions of suicidal thoughts that occur in this episode, also for mentions of drug abuse, and also living in an environment where other people are using. So please proceed with caution. Your mental health is way more important to me than a click or a play, so please take care of yourself first, and be aware going forward. Hello everybody. Honestly, it's been one hell of a couple weeks, and I've been really struggling with anxiety, having a little bit of the depression happening too. Just struggling with feeling stuck in certain aspects of life, feeling stagnant in certain aspects of life, feeling a little lost, just being really reflective of things that have happened in the last couple of years. I don't really know how to get the things that I want, and the things that I do want seem kind of impossible, and I know that they're not, and I just have to put the work in, but I'm just worried that it's not going to come to fruition. I keep telling myself that I'm capable and that, I'll figure it out. I always do, but sometimes I just feel like I can't do things, and I feel like I'm not good enough for things, and like I don't deserve things, and that's a lot to unpack as it is, but I'm just in a slump right now. It feels really good to sit down and record, though. I've been looking forward to doing this. Yeah, I've really been struggling with, which is funny because I talked about it in the last episode about isolation and how it doesn't help, it only hurts you. And I've been resisting the urge to do that for weeks now. So yeah, I really want to practice what I preach as far as the things that I talk about in this podcast. Because if I'm saying it to you, why wouldn't I apply it to myself? You know what I mean? So yeah. I think I'm just saying all this to tell you that it's okay to have moments where you're not okay, but don't stay that way. Like, it's okay to visit a low point, just don't take residency there. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited to be here. I want to say thank you for everyone who has interacted with any of my content, who has interacted with any of my socials, who's followed me, all the things. Sent me fan mail. Whoever sent that, thank you. That made me feel really good. Doing this is really nerve-wracking. It's really scary, but it's also very exciting, and it feels really good to be doing it. I just wonder, I think I listen to these episodes back, and I'm like, am I oversharing? Am I doing too much? Am I saying too much? But I really want to be 100% authentic and transparent on this, because I think that so much good comes from honest conversations. So without further ado, let's get into episode 3 of Until It Ran Into Me. Now, I consider my life to be 2 parts, 2 acts, if you will. Act 1 is when I moved to the East Coast when I was 8 years old, and then Act 2 is when I moved back to California when I was 14, and all the things that unfolded during that time. It was very formative. When I moved back, especially, a lot of things fell apart, but it was a very hard time, and upon quote-unquote researching for this episode, I had to kind of go back and revisit a lot of things, a lot of memories, a lot of feelings. Some weren't so great. A lot of them weren't so great, if I'm being honest. But it also made me immensely grateful for where I'm at now in my life. How things have changed for the better in a lot of ways. And they outshine the not so great things that have came to be. I always try to stay rooted in gratitude, to see the silver lining of situations, to see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. I'm a firm believer that something good always comes out of something bad. You may not realize it right away. It might take months, it might take years, but you do get there, and you do have that aha moment. In October of 1999, my grandmother, my dad's mom, passed away. Her and my grandpa had land. I believe it was just the land they had out in North Carolina. They hadn't put a house on it yet. But I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that they both planned on relocating out there at some point anyway, leaving California. My grandpa was retired, so I could definitely see them doing that. But she passed away, and I think that my grandpa just wanted to get away from the house they were in. He wanted to start over. Her death was obviously extremely painful for him. So the decision was made that he was going to move. I actually ended up going by that street a couple of weeks ago. I can't really explain it, but this crazy feeling washes over me when I see the sign. And I look down the street, and there's a huge tree that was planted when my dad was 14 years old. It's still there, and it's massive. I think it's an oak tree. I went to the actual place, the actual site where the house was, with an ex-boyfriend 4 or 5 years ago now. And I just remember that the yard was so green. I felt like maybe that was like my grandma, like she's there, like taking care of it, or she's, her spirit is still there. But yeah, anyway. And I think that was the main reason why we decided to move to the East Coast. We being my mom, my dad, myself, my brother, my grandpa, and my aunt. I don't really remember a lot during that time. Things are kind of foggy. I just remember I have certain flashes of them talking about moving. I have certain flashes of them deciding who was going to go, because it was very up in the air who all was going to move back there at the time. Everybody was kind of like, oh, I want to go, oh, I don't want to go. So initially we made the 3-day trip to North Carolina. Me, my brother, my grandfather, and my aunt in 2001. We arrived there right before Thanksgiving of 2001. I remember like little flashes of the drive. It's kind of funny. Like I remember have one specific memory of like looking in the rearview mirror of my aunt being in the car behind us. I was riding with my grandpa at the time. I think we kind of switched around, but I don't remember much of the drive at that age. So yeah, we got there. I started the same elementary school as my brother. I was in my 3rd grade year at the time. Didn't do the best academically, because the curriculum was different, so that was very challenging. So much so that I ended up getting held back my 3rd grade year. I had to repeat the 3rd grade. So they were building a school closer to my house. The one I was at the time was like, I think 20 minutes away maybe. But this one was a little bit closer. So it turned out that I was going to go to this new school, and my brother was going to stay at the one that I was originally at. My brother is autistic, so he was already set up there. He was already comfortable. He had a great teacher, all the things. So he stayed at that school, and I went to the new one. And going to this new school was the best thing to ever happen to me, because I absolutely thrived. I thrived academically. I had great teachers. I really liked all of my teachers. Every year that I was there, I was up there until 5th grade. I met a lot of lifelong friends that I'm still friends with to this day, that I still talk to this day at that school. It was just such an amazing redirection, and the best thing that's ever happened. That's the only way I can describe it. So I went there all through my 5th grade year, and then I moved to middle school when it was my 6th grade year. A lot of the same kids that I went to elementary school with, I went to the same middle school with as well. Yeah, like, thrived, continued to thrive. Had a lot of great friends. Just, if I could go back for like 10 minutes today and just relive that, even for a little bit, I would. There's something about being a kid that time is just so deliciously slow. Does that make sense when I say that? Like, time is just so slow, and there's no responsibility except for school. There's no job, there's no bills, there's just you, your social life, getting homework done. Like, we didn't know how good we had it, did we? We really didn't. But yeah, that's a time that I look back on very fondly. Middle school, elementary school, summers were spent, like, I lived outside during the summer. North Carolina is very hot in the summer. The humidity is a killer. But it was just the best. I rode bikes with my friends in the neighborhood. All of my friends lived in the same neighborhood as me. Like, great memories, great time. And in school I was such a good student, and I loved school. I was such a little nerd. I loved history, I loved writing. I was a voracious reader. I just excelled. I was a good student. I was like the pizza party kid, the ice cream party kid. Like, I got A's and B's. I always struggled in math, but I found a way to push through, and somehow I made it. Thank goodness. But aside from that, I did really well. And that's why when I came back here, having the exact opposite happen to me, and, not performing well, it was a huge hit to me. And it really fucked with my confidence in myself, and it traumatized me. That's the only way I can describe it. It was a traumatizing experience, and it changed me forever. And I think every time I'm not good at something or I fail at something, I kind of flash back to that. And I just kind of feel that way all over again. You get that, like, when you're a kid and you get that feeling like you're really small and, you feel bad. Like, it happens to me all over again as an adult. So fast forward to 2007. I am in my 7th grade year, the very end of my 7th grade year. Sometime before that, my dad decided that we were going to move back to California. Now, he kind of made it seem like this really great thing to do. Once again, something good always comes out of something bad. But I was heartbroken leaving my friends. I was heartbroken leaving my life. We ended up moving back, made the drive again. Me, my stepmom, my mom, my brother and I to California. And we arrived here in April of 2007. Now, academically, when I came back to California, it was absolutely horrendous. It was so much worse coming back here than it was when I moved there. I bombed so hard academically. I had horrible academic anxiety because of it. I did not want to go to school. And going from being the smart kid, quote unquote, the kid who gets really good grades, the kid who loves school, thrives in school, I was traumatized. Literally. There's no better way to put it. I was absolutely traumatized coming here. Yeah, it was horrible. I begged my mom to stay home a lot. I begged her to not let me go. I remember missing quite a bit of school when we moved back because I just didn't want to go. Sometimes she would let me just skip the day. But the curriculum was completely different again here than it was there. And I did a horrible job. I did end up going to the 8th grade, which I'm blown away. I didn't have to repeat the 7th grade. But my 8th grade year, I was not allowed to graduate with my class because I just wasn't there academically. And that was horrible. I did have a pretty good group of friends. They were nothing like what I had on the East Coast. But I really liked them. They really liked me. I think it was just like the new fascination with the new kid that even came to be because I was very withdrawn when I came here. When I moved back, my personality changed dramatically. I went from being very like extroverted to when I moved back here, a part of me just kind of wilted away and I became very inward and very quiet and very like kept to myself, and that's never really changed. It's still held on all this time. And that really breaks my heart because I used to be very different and now I'm the opposite of that. And I would get reminded about that from my dad and other people. Like, you used to be so outgoing and laughing and now you're so quiet and shy. And, well, yeah, what do you expect? My whole life changed and I changed with it. But yeah, I really miss my friends. I have this very specific memory. Because when we moved back here, we ended up staying with my uncle's girlfriend at the time. Horrible woman. We lived in like my mom, my brother, and I lived in a little camper on her property. She lived on the side of a mountain in this beautiful house. You could see the ocean. We lived in like a little camper when we came back. And I remember this very specific memory of sitting on the edge of the bed in the very back of the camper where like the bedding area was, the bed was. And I had my laptop open and I got a signal for Wi-Fi. And I opened my email because my friend Samantha had made me an email before I left, which I tried to get into the other day, but it's deactivated because of no use, which was sad but expected. She made me an email and she had sent me a bunch of emails. My friend Amber had sent me emails, and I remember going through them and writing Samantha back and just being so sad and like crying as I'm writing, like, I miss you. I wish I was still there. And I'll never forget, like, looking out at that tiny window at the ocean and just thinking, why the hell am I here? Like, why did I have to leave and give all this up? Give this foundation up and these people that I really love and care about? And I think that with my dad, I always have some kind of resentment for wanting to come back and change all that. Because I don't understand why we came back. He's back there now. He's been back there for quite some time. And I've been here the whole time. I've gone out to visit a couple times to the East Coast, but I've been back here. What was the point, you know? And I think I'll always mourn who I could have been if I would have stayed there, who I'd be. I honestly feel like I'd be a better person. I would be in a better place. I probably would have finished school. I didn't finish school. I dropped out. I think I would have had a better job. I think I would have lived with my friends. I think I would have thrived. I probably would have gone to college. I think I'll mourn her for the rest of my life, whoever she would have been. And it's not to say that moving here didn't have its positive experiences, or I didn't meet great people here and continue to do so. But, there's just something that I'll always think of and yearn for and wonder what could have been. All in all, I just think that moving states, specifically when I moved back to California, that's like the main one. I think it just absolutely 100% changed me, changed my personality forever. Because if you talk to people who know me since I was a kid, like certain family members, they'll tell you that I used to be very loud, I used to be very extroverted. I'm not really like that anymore at all. I can be that way, but only to a degree. If I really trust you, if I really like you, if I feel comfortable with you, those are the three main factors that factor into me being my quote-unquote extroverted self with you. And it's also who I consider who I really am, because I'm very introverted now. I'm very quiet. I don't really speak up. It takes a lot for me to do so. I have a hard time making friends. Something about it just kind of scares me a little bit. And I think it goes deeper than I'm an introvert. I think it goes so much deeper than that. I think that's just very surface level. Everybody, this podcast is titled Until It Ran Into Me. So, with that being said, what have I done? What will I do to fix these issues, heal these issues, be different, make better choices, all the things. So I think moving a lot as a kid affected me deeply now. I know it did. And my only goal my whole life, and I remember thinking this as a very young kid, was one day you will be stable. And you will be in one place, and you will do everything you can to stay in that place. And ever since I came back from visiting the East Coast in, I think it was 2014, 2015, it's been almost 10 years if it hasn't been already, I've just made it my goal to plant down roots and to stay wherever I am. I've managed to stay in this town. I came back from visiting circa 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. After being out there, for getting stuck out there for over a year. And some of the things I had to deal with out there, some of the things I had to experience, I just told myself that I'm going to be different. I'm going to go back and I'm going to bust ass and do whatever it takes to make it on my own by myself. I lived with my cousin for a year. Ever since then. It's just been me. And I've been dedicated to doing whatever it takes to stay where I'm at. Because I moved so much as a kid. And I moved those 2 times that just changed me dramatically. And I don't want that to happen. And if I ever have kids, which I have no idea that's actually going to happen, I couldn't tell you. But if I ever do, I really want them to have that stability. I want them to stay in one place. I want them to grow up in one place. I don't want to take them away from everything they've ever known and they've ever loved, because it really fucked me up. And I don't want that for them. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for them, if they should ever be. That's been my goal my whole life. And now that I'm older and I see the effects that it's had on me, now that I'm in my 30s, I'm even more adamant on that being reality in the future, both for myself and if I ever have kids. With that being said, I did a little research in preparation for this episode on the effects of moving for children, particularly kids who move long distances. Because obviously I think that kids who move in the same town, the same state, I feel like that would have less of an impact than people who move out of the country or across the country. So, I did find a couple articles that really spoke to me. And I'm going to be honest, reading this stuff made me a little bit sad. It broke my heart a little bit because I can relate so much to it. And it kind of gave me these aha moments, too, about myself. So, with that being said, the first article I came across was from neurolaunch.com. And the first thing that stuck out to me that kind of jumped off of the page was, a child's world is forever changed when the familiar is left behind. Holy shit, first of all. And then it went on to say that whether a child thrives or struggles in the face of relocation often depends on a constellation of factors. 1 being their age, 2 their personality, 3 their family dynamics, 4 the reason for the move, and 5 the support they receive after the fact. This is also a line that jumped out at me. This was after that section that says, it's a complex dance where every step matters. So let's go through each one of those. My age, I was 14, as I stated. My personality. very extroverted, very loud. I was like the class clown. I was very much a social butterfly. I had a lot of friends of all sexes. I was not shy. I was the opposite of who I am now. Whew. Family dynamics. This podcast is called Until It Ran Into Me, so that should pretty much tell you all you need to know about my family dynamics and the stuff that I've stated previously. That just goes without question. The reason for the move. One parent wanted to move back here quickly, as soon as possible. I couldn't even give you a reason. They just wanted to. It, in my opinion, was selfish. Very, very selfish, and not thinking of your children and their lives that they built. It was very much, I'm the parent, you're the kid. What you say doesn't matter. I never remember having an opinion on it. It was just, this is what it's going to be. Deal with it. Period. And the support they receive after the fact. Now, I really started to think about this after reading this article. I've never really thought about this before. But I don't recall having a lot of support after moving. I don't remember, like, being upset about my friends, not being there, and there being, like a supportive environment, or, like, a comforting environment. I think it was just, like, whatever. I'm not saying it was necessarily negative or anything, but I don't remember the support being there. As there should have been. Absolutely. So, yeah. Jeez. There was also a section that said future research could delve deeper into the long-term effects of childhood moves, perhaps through long studies that follow children into adulthood. It's like planting a seed and waiting years to see what kind of trees grow. Now, when you read something on your phone and you just have to, like, put your phone to sleep and just, like, stare at the wall for a second and let that just seep into your bones, what you just read? You do it with a good book, you do it with an article, what have you. That made me do that. It's like planting a seed and waiting years to see what kind of tree grows. So what kind of tree am I? Oh, an anxious, socially challenged tree. Oh, it's not funny. It's really sad, but it's crazy how you read things and they just make sense. Things that you felt your whole life, you read or you hear someone else say it, and it's like, holy shit, that's me. That's how I felt for so long, but I couldn't put it into words, or I couldn't think of the correct way to express myself. That's a perfect example of that. Oh, fuck. There is also a section that talks about parents nurturing the connection to be continued with their friends that have been left behind. I don't remember that ever being the case with my parents. I don't remember them ever being like, oh, you talked to so-and-so, or you should contact so-and-so. Mind you, I don't think I had a phone at the time. I know I got a phone when I was 13, but I don't know if I had it then. I don't remember being able. I think if I had, by chance, to come in contact with a Wi-Fi connection, then I could check, my email. I communicated a lot through email. And we also went to the library, and that's how I could get on a computer too at the time. My mom got us all library cards. But I don't remember them ever being encouraging of keeping in contact. I almost wonder, and I'm not saying that they felt this way because I don't know, I couldn't tell you, but I always wonder if maybe they wanted me to, like, forget, one parent specifically, if they wanted me to forget that part of my life and just focus on this. Because honestly, I feel like moving back here was what they wanted. It was for their own selfish reasons. I don't think they took into account what it would do to their kids. I think that we were sold a dream, and it wasn't a dream. And that pisses me off and hurts me. Looking back, I know my one parent specifically wanted to really move back here, and it's going to be like Disneyland and yada yada. And it wasn't. It hasn't been. Thank goodness I'm older now, and I can control where I am and what I do and all that stuff. And I live my own life. But I feel like then, it was, you're the kid, you're going to listen to what we say. Well, that doesn't make you right. It doesn't make you making right decisions. So, yeah. Shout out to you who have stuck around this long. I feel like I ranted so much in this episode. But it's just, doing this has made me conjure up so many memories of then and, being a kid and, But anyway. Moving back here, a lot of things were obliterated. My relationship with my mother moving back here was kind of the destroying of that. I'm not sure how much longer after we moved back, but my mother got in touch with her mother again, which great. Reconnection, great for you. We would move out of the trailer. I'm not sure of the time or the year, but we would move in with my grandma, who has passed. She has been gone since 2019. Moving in with her, my mom got caught up in that, and I went through literal hell with both of them. We would move out for a little bit in with my aunt. My aunt had her own problems. My aunt had a really bad prescription drug problem. She was not the nicest person to deal with. She wasn't very nice to me a lot. My aunt being my mom's sister. But living with my grandma and my mom was very, very formative for me. It made my relationship with my mother completely changed. I hated her. Well, I didn't hate her, but I think hate's a strong word, but I have a lot of dislike for her. I love my mother, but I don't like who she is. She would start doing things that she would deny, but I know what I saw and I know what I went through, and I have all the reason to believe, and I was told things from other people. I have all the reason to believe that she was into the same shit. I went through a very bad depression, and I mentioned this in the introduction episode. I went through a very deep depression living with them. My grandmother was on housing, and I was not allowed to leave the house. She didn't want anybody to see me or know I was there. So I basically just stayed in the house for months and months. I wasn't in school. I moved in with them when I was 16 or 17. So I was a teenager, and I was stuck in the house. She did not want anybody to see me or know I was there because she was on Section 8. And I just was surrounded by them, and they would have people that would come to the house that they were friends with who were very shady and the same things, and with no regard for me. There was a lot of putting strangers before family, and my family's very skilled with that, with treating strangers when they treat their own blood. There was no food in the house a lot. The power kept getting cut off. The water kept getting cut off. Yeah, just insanity. We would have no food in the house, but we would have a lot of tinfoil in the house, and if you know, you fucking know what that means. Yeah, I went through a horrible depression. I thought about suicide. My grandma was on morphine at the time for her arthritis, and I thought about just, at one point, taking that and never waking up. And that was the lowest point I've ever been in. I just wanted out of that situation. I was so angry with my mom. I'm still angry with my mom. We don't have our relationship will never be the same. I ended up, the first time I went out to visit my dad and my brothers and my stepmom, I just wanted to get away from them. So I left the state. I ended up being on the East Coast for over a year. My aunt's boyfriend bought me a ticket to come back. While I was there, I dealt with my dad and his alcoholism and just bullshit. When I came back, my mom didn't pick me up from the airport. I was stuck there until my uncle, he ended up picking me up. And I'll never forget being back in California that first day after coming back from visiting my dad, and just it washing over me that I had come back to the same situation that I had left from, that I had wanted to get away from. And that was the most overwhelming feeling. And it was such a, lost feeling, too, of being stuck and coming back to the same shit. So, I ended up moving in with my cousin and his wife, and he saved my life. I never said that to him, but he did, because I did not want to continue with that. Being in that house with them and their shit, it didn't work. And thank God for my cousin, because he saved my life. Him and his wife saved my life. Because I truly don't think that I would be here today if it weren't for them. In conclusion, my mom reconnecting with her mom was the ending of things, and it ended her and I's relationship. My grandma, her mom, passed away in 2019. And at the time of her death, I held a lot of anger toward her. And honestly, I still do. I still feel a certain way with her. I feel like her coming back into my mom's life really did a lot of damage. Not only just with me and her, my mom, but, my mom herself. I think it was like her undoing. And I don't think I'll ever get over that feeling. I don't think I'll ever let that go. I think I'll always kind of hold that with me. Because it's hard, because my mom took herself away from me. And mind you, it was choices she made herself. But, it all stemmed from getting back in touch with her mom. I think at the end of it all, everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. I think that we move places, we do certain things, we make choices that serve a purpose. I think that moving here brought a lot to my life. I think it took a lot away, but it did bring things to my life. And that wraps up episode 3 of Until It Ran Into Me. Once again, thank you for allowing me to have my little corner of the podcast universe. Thank you for lending me your ears, who interact with my social media, who share my social media, who share the podcast, everything. I feel very lucky, very blessed to do this and have this. If you would like to follow me on my socials, you will find the listings of where to do so after this outro plays. I appreciate you. I'm happy you're here, and I hope you stick around because I have so much more planned. So with that, have a great week, have a great day, wherever you are, and I will see you next time. Bye! Thank you for tuning into this episode of Until It Ran Into Me. Listen to new episodes and other news. You can visit my website at buzzsprout.untilitranintome.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Until It Ran Into Me Podcast. And in my bio on Instagram, you can find my link tree that leads to all of my other social media platforms that I'm on. So please give those a follow. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time.